So we have Phebe Bartle from MJ Bale, head of retail. We have, yes, woo! Woo, 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 woo! We have Matt Lowe. No, Matt Lowe. Oh my God, Matt Now.
Ben Now.
Ben Now.
Use your word.
Hey, I'm Matt. I'm here.
Lucky he doesn't take it personally. Of all the people to get your name wrong. Ben, I'm so sorry.
That's right. Matt, Ben, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Just don't call me late for dinner. Yeah? I love it. And of course we have Tennille from Michael Hill. Woo! We love heads of their, retail organisations, which is amazing. So maybe what we can do while I just recover is maybe introduce yourselves just briefly about what you do, what your role is and so forth. So Phoebe, do you want to go first?
Oh, thanks, Terry. I thought you might start at the other end.
No. Friends.
I know a lot of people in the room, but there's lots of faces I don't know as well. So my name's Phoebe. I'm the head of retail and I look after our customer at MJ Bale. And I don't know, what do you want to know about me?
How long have you been using Kepler?
I actually met David and David at the beginning, so I've been using them for 5 years, way back when I worked for a designer brand. So this was the days when everybody worked in the business, and David Gordon used to do my training with the retail team. So I've got a long-term partnership with the business, and I really value the insights and the data that we get out of Kepler. I think at MJ Bale we put it in 2019. I started in the business there then, so I've been there 4 years now. And we ran a pilot program. It was a very new system for our business. We took the business from a transactional business to a more customer-centric business, and I've seen the Kepler business grow over that time, and the insights that we get out of it, and I think the transition that we've taken our team on has been significant. So I really value being here today, and the conference that the guys have put on. I think it's amazing.
And I think the insights that you're going to bring are going to be amazing. As Ben, you were amazing last night. So Ben, head of retail, City Beach. A little bit about yourself, and how long have you been using Kepler?
So Matt here. I've been using Kepler since 2019, so also a long-standing customer. Not too dissimilar to you guys. We're very task-driven prior to that, and the insights that Kepler gave us really transformed our business, which I'm going to be excited to share. I've been with City Beach for 15 years. And just super excited to sit down and talk to you guys about how we use it, where we're going with it, and just different ways of approaching it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And after last night, with the three of you, it's going to be an amazing panel, I think. And Tennille.
Okay.
Michael Hill.
Yes.
Woo!
Hello, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. So I've been with Michael Hill for 9 years now. Actually, September just passed. We're based in Brisbane, our head office. We've got 280 odd stores. Which is a healthy customer base for Kepler. We've been using Kepler now for about 4 or 5 years too. We similarly did a trial for about 18 months. So we spread in New Zealand and Canada and Australia. And it was a seamless transition for us to move to Kepler and replace a legacy service provider that we had for about 20 odd years. That wasn't fulfilling the desired needs for our strategy and our footprint where we wanted to go as Michael Hill. It wasn't innovative. We had poor customer service, and so we were looking for something that was going to fit our strategy going forward. And Kepler has, the partnership we've got with Kepler is amazing. Not only do we have more measures, such as dwell time, outside passer traffic, but we can use that for all disciplines of our business, not just retail and what it's doing with that customer journey. So my role at Michael Hill is I'm a data scientist.
You are.
And so I look at all retail budgeting, sales, GP and wages. I'm particularly, an expert in wage optimisation. So we're using Kepler data to penetrate in all disciplines of our business, but in particular, I'm using it for wage optimisation.
Which is, isn't it great to have that difference? Okay, so and outside of the obvious, you know, we all know COVID. We've all done the 1,000 stories of COVID. So outside of COVID, if you could take that out of the last, say, 12 months, what do you think might be or have been the challenges for your businesses? And so you can just
Yeah, well, the C word probably influences. That's hard to answer because I think the knock-on effects outside of COVID itself for me is the downstream about recruitment, keeping IP in the business, maintaining the rage, seeing the differences in the different states. Like our WA state right now is in a world of hurt from theft, violence, the whole lot, and it's really tough out there right now. So to answer that question, if I remove COVID, the downstream effect of what COVID and knock-on effects it's done is really impacted us. And what we've done about it is probably what everyone's done with professional scramblers. We've tried to keep the stores open. We're revisiting our training, better onboarding experience, how we be better. Like, I mean, you're all in the room right now. It's a battle of the deepest pockets.
Yes.
You know, it's crazy when you're sitting there like, oh, what, I've got to pay 75 grand for a 200 square metre shop for salary? And when I was manager, I was on 43, so Slight difference. So I think for us, it was a kick in the arse to have a look at things differently. I think we were set in ways with rostering and the way we approach things. We've had to be a bit more agile. So, you know, that's one component of it. So.
Yeah, the labour shortage has definitely been the biggest thing. I think, you know, from a retail perspective, that's the thing that we can control. Obviously, there's back of house things that have happened to, you know, the supply chain implications and, you know, the looming global, you know, recession. Do we say the word? You know, what does that mean in 12 months' time? I think there's definitely, you know, everyone's thinking about what impact is that going to have on Australia and the economy here. You know, so I think there is a lot going on in terms of that. I think what we have tried to focus on, like Ben said, is really about our people and making sure that the team we do have continue to stay, get the growth that they need personally and professionally, and we create, you know, we continue to create a beautiful space for our customers to come into. So, I mean, I think that, you know, the Kepler success is making sure their customers succeed, and our success is that we make sure we deliver on our customer promise, right? So, you know, creating that space that a customer just can come into and, you know, have that connection, as David spoke about earlier today, and we can, you know, continue to move forward.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Everything else is really
We're just
out
going
of
to
our
try
control.
and turn off David's phone. Yeah.
That's all
Is
right.
that my phone?
Well played.
Just
how you
hang
get off
up
the
on her
stage.
kids. Hang up on the kids.
I thought I turned it off.
And you know what's going to be interesting? We've all got to. Do we all know how to turn it off?
You are taking
Listen,
this stage.
you can't be good at
want the
everything.
stage.
Don't you worry about it.
Matt,
You
like,
can't be
it's
good
all
at everything.
happening.
That is, I'm going to pull up a chair. This is such a fantastic conversation. And even that phone going off. So you look at that, even that phone going off. And
$100 bucks.
$100, there you go.
I'll take it.
So even that phone going off, you know, that, you know, when you talk about the in-store experience, not just, and forget about customers, because I always go, the customer isn't the enemy, you know. But even with our staff, and even just this week talking to a group of managers saying, how do I tell my staff to not have their phone on them?
Yeah.
And not having the issue, you know, the whole anxiety, which we'll talk about later. So that was fantastic, Phebe. I think you brought up a lot of subjects there, yeah? So do you guys want to add to that? Is there...
Oh, well, I'd have to agree that staffing is definitely been the biggest challenge probably for us or any retailer over the last 12 months, or anybody, I guess. And yeah, look, Michael Hill, I guess, are very, very good at focusing on looking after their staff. And so we want that retention and reduce that turnover. And so to maintain that current number is okay, I guess, but it's when we need more people and we're looking for that expert. So we're investing a lot of time, I guess, in our people to, you know, train and develop and have that succession planning as well and the career opportunities. So we want to be the employer of choice.
Can I ask you something just on that? How do you know, and it's not because, you know, I'm not, How do you know that you're very good to your staff?
Oh, look, because I've been there 9 years and I feel so valued by my leadership team. And I'm not just another statistic. Well, I believe I'm speaking on behalf of all the people who work at Michael Hill that there's such equality and diversity and inclusion, and you don't feel like another number. You are family. Maybe it's the brand. We're all about love and sharing, but certainly, there's a sense of equality.
And we get a diamond every 6 months, yeah.
You wake up every morning, you're not going to work to pay the bills. You're going to work for the passion of being with the culture and the people. So, and I think that you get the training. We've got a very good in-house L&D department as well. So I think we just invest in the people just as much as we're investing in our customers.
Beautiful.
And most of the things that you've looked at over the last 8 years, right, that's worked for you in retail, you've had to go and look at again, right? So you've looked at all your soft, benefits to make sure that you're giving them the best opportunity to kind of play to their strengths as well and win in those areas. So I think everything that we've looked at, we've had to re-look at again, and you've got to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not something that retail, and I could be wrong, but I don't think retail, from a history point of view, has always been quick to shift.
No.
As much as they say they're fast fashion, I agree with you. There's definitely an inertia that's happened in the past, and I think to echo as well, the other things that for me, for Kepler, during that uncertainty, and you're sitting there trying to figure out budgets and all that stuff, and you're like, well, fuck, what's the Da Vinci Code? We took a very different approach. Yeah, and it's just like, what? The only consistency was the inconsistency out there, I think is the best way to put it. We were able to then strip it down. I had a conversation with the manager and said, look, I don't care about the budget. And they're like, come again? I said, no, listen to me, I don't care about the budget. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, I care about the budget after the day for your wage control point of view. What's passionate to me is what you can influence, being your IPS, your sales conversion, and so forth. So that was nice to actually rationalise what good looks like, what success looks like, empowering them, through those uncertain times as well, which Kepler was a big help with that. So.
Which is amazing. And so how are the customers changed? Like, have you noticed a change in the customers, or?
They're not tire kickers no more. You don't have people just coming in, walking around, looking around. Like, I think the message has been clear the whole way through for us. They come in, they've got a purpose, they've got a direction.
Intent.
And that's the other part for us, making sure we're stepping up our game with the knowledge with our team members, because most of the customers that come in, warranty information, and making sure they're armed with this information, but they've already made their decision. So just taking them for that journey. But definitely.
I definitely think that our customers are much more educated and spending much more time online. Becoming educated and are more focused when they come into store with an intent to buy, as opposed to sort of just onlookers or looking around. So in saying that, there's still, I agree that with the dwell time we can see that increasing, but it's the engagement and that customer service journey too that our staff are actually allowing them to want to spend more time. It's not because they're sort of educating them, because they're already educated. Also, I think the customers want to shop their way and when they want to. So during the COVID period, I guess, we spent a lot of time in investing in our omni-channel. And so allowing customers to have that click and collect option, or the pick and pay, or whatever it is. So and making sure that customer journey is at their leisure and at their need, and how they want to do it is also very important, I think.
Yeah, I think that responsiveness is amazing. I've got to stop saying amazing. So Phoebe, do you want to start maybe just by, what have been some of the successes for MJ Bale in the last, say, 12 months? Like, what have you done that you've gone, okay, this is really, it's a new... Have you done anything new?
I definitely think we continued to invest in training. So even through COVID, back to the conversation at the beginning, everyone's got the opportunity to be a coach again and train the soft skills that, we used to take for granted, because even, with the age group that we hire, we've got the opportunity out of university to kind of show them what it takes to kind of survive in the real world as well, right? So you're teaching them resilience, you're teaching them you know, life skills, but you're also then teaching them, you know, people management and customer, how to service their customer to the best of their ability and problem solve, which, you know, in the real environment, it, you know, can take a lot more tenacity and, you know, I think more focus around what you're doing and you're driving actions and results from it. But definitely I think one of the successes we've had is really that investment in our people and the investment in technology. For us, it's been about what does the customer want to come into our stores for and their intention to buy, understanding that so that you're marketing to them with the right communication. So there's been a huge kind of push for us into investment into technology, whether it be around customer journey and personalisation, improving that so when they get to store, they're getting the right messages in store as well. So I think all of it's linked, and how you bring in technology to that and what then that overlays with Kepler for us is what then do we train our retailers on from that perspective. So there's this back engine that's fueling the front engine, you know, for an analogy, right, around cars, but really it's what messages we're giving to the customer to make it resonate. So I think to help our retailers be able to execute better, we have to get that. And I think that's what we're working on at the moment. We're working, you know, and we're about to roll out loyalty as well at the same time. So I think, you know, if you ask me that question in another 6 months' time, I'll have a lot more successes around it. I think we're in a purple patch in retail at the moment. You know, there's definitely cash in the market. There's intention to buy. People are ready. Are we skilled enough to, do we know the skills, going back to coach, that actually gets you the result when, you know, more challenging times come. So I think they're the conversations we're having at the moment.
And isn't that great? And I don't have anything to do with Kepler, which is great because I'm actually Switzerland, you know. I just love that we can have an intelligent and intuitive conversation with our people. You know, that we're giving them. It's not they don't take it personally because here we go, we've got the data, and now we'll give you the support. So thank you, Phoebe, that was brilliant. So Ben, what are you, around that whole space of the successes and especially your people? Yeah,
so I think further to that, for us when training, we've always had training out there. We never had an LMS, so we had some fancy books but no bookshelf really to connect to the team member. And when COVID, or the C word, kicked off, very quickly you'd lose 25 people in a shop and all of a sudden you're left with team members that have never run a store before. So that shaped a very big planning stage for us. We did already adopt with our digital transformation in 2019. We basically burnt every system that was built in 1980 for us, and Pac-Man came out, which is everything. So we replaced ERP, point of sale, signed up with Kepler, new rostering system. Then 6 months after that, we decided to embark on RFID, which is still going. So that's, you know, another part. So for us with Kepler, what I got really jacked up on Mountain Dew was the Kepler X side of the business. So you know, sitting with Andrew in a room when he first presented Kepler, they get retail. It's intuitive. You had me at hello, like that was amazing. The Kepler X, when David and Andrew came and sat with us, I remember sitting with my old COO at the time, Anita, and we're like, oh shit, yeah, we're getting on this, because it linked then an action to the stores and gave a bit more clarity of helping the regional follow up with the store, but we could then put our training in it. So if I want to increase my IPS, go watch our training material, know your shit. Like, you know, that kind of thing. It's called that. Yeah. So, just so to be clear. For us, for us, Kepler X, when we embarked on that path, really tied in not only, hey, if you dropped here, here's an action, here's a commitment, help the regional follow up. We reverse engineered it, and actually, I'm old, but the regional got jacked up on it, used gifts. So if you exceeded a target, the manager would get a gift, congratulations, really cool. And that kind of really motivated them as well to call out when they were doing good. So, you know, in a time where we didn't have a really good bookshelf, we had a really good tool to still, you know, communicate with our teams and you know, push through.
Beautiful.
Enable.
So let's sort of, you know, move over to Landlords now. Tennille. That was a comma. And so, you know, can you give us some insight? Like, what are the difficulties in negotiating? What's your advice here?
Well, in a nutshell, I think that, you know, the challenging thing with negotiations with landlords in the future, in the next 12 months or so, is simply they're going to want to claw back their losses, and they're going to mask that with interest rate hikes. And so we, as, I guess, people who want to go in and, you know, grab sites, we need to be better at how we negotiate and don't accept, I suppose, these, you know, them clawing back their losses and, you know, increasing their rent space and whatsoever, and making it really difficult for us. And so I think Kepler have actually, we trialled the toolkit that Kepler have put out for, you know, negotiations with landlords. We also have our own data analysis, me being a data scientist internally, and the methodology that we use to go in negotiations. But yeah, I think it's good, not necessarily, sometimes it's teaming up with other retailers in that collaborative effort like we're here today, and not just individually going in, because we're all sharing the same precinct.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we've all got different ways of negotiating, and we all end up with different results. But if we all go as one, perhaps it's a class action.
Yeah.
And you say, look, I'm not paying it.
We're a community.
We're taking signatures outside.
Yeah. We hold them to account, and you know, we expect value for that space as well. And so we've got this data, and like, you know, Kepler Analytics have got the data for us to prove with that evidence. Now we need to be smart about using that in our negotiations.
And I think that's fantastic. I'm going to throw it out to the audience, because I think there's so much intelligence up here. That I think we can just, you know, my first book was called There Are Two Times in Life, Now and Too Late. Yeah, and so it's going to be too late. So at the end of this.
Terry's greatest fan.
Oh, I love you so much. I have to say though, and I am a bit of a futurist when it comes to tribes, community, learning, and so forth. Community, and not the way we know community, but community is going to be the big thing of the future. Like, even in companies and those sort of things. So if this is our tribe, and it feels good, like intuitively, I think you all agree it feels good. Yeah, some form of life is good here, nodding. You're like, yeah, it feels good. Yeah? Oh, they're still not nodding. All right then. So, all right, maybe not. Let's all go for a drink.
Tough crowd.
Okay, so let's have a few questions. Does anyone, and ask anything, like, because when you ask, I can watch my time as well. You can be the runner. I love you. Yes. So we've got a few minutes. So any questions at all where, you know, just think about it. And sometimes this goes, doesn't it? We go, I'm not going to ask a question. Does anyone have a question that they would like to ask these three people on the stage? Otherwise I have to go back. They go, why are you hanging at our table for? Any questions? I know it's scary, isn't it? We all... People don't, it's true, isn't it? We get scared. We go, oh, I don't want to ask a question just in case it sounds stupid. Love it, over here. Oh, David's got a question.
Of course, David.
Just like, they're like the good dad that comes in and saves the moment.
Situation normal. Very, very different three retailers: specialist retail, big box, and jewellery, which is a sector in itself. Have you modified your structure of your workforce from permanent to temporary, from part-time to full-time?
Good question.
Or is it basically whatever you can get?
We've actually gone out and revised. I know prior to COVID, you know, wages is a big topic, so how do you do it better by adding value? And over the time, I think we eroded the succession planning and what was core for us. So we've turned around and actually, during this time of hard hiring, I've got 1,300 casuals I've got to hire for Christmas. I've got 76 new full-time roles in the business in a market that's already tough.
Yeah.
And that's a conscious decision for us, you know, to move the business forward in a structured way. So. To answer your question, yeah, the full-time profile has moved, you know, through choice or through lack of choice, and trying to keep the shops open. So,
yeah, I mean, we can't get enough staff onto the shop floor to improve our sales conversion. So, you know, I mean, from that metric alone, we know that we needed, I mean, very similar. There was this focus on controlling costs so much that almost you depleted your succession plan model. Yeah, I think we know that we've got a high, like our product is high touch. high service requirement. We do a lot of tailoring that is special to our product as well. It's not just a garment, it's a garment of integrity. So what does that mean? That means that we have to offer that as well. So, you know, that push with weddings has really propelled our business forward as well, because although we don't sell jewellery, we sell a garment that is worn in that environment as well, and therefore it gives us a great opportunity. And you know, post-COVID, we saw that this, out of lockdown, not only in Melbourne with the first lockdown, but the second, we saw this, you know, spike of people really wanting to enjoy moments that matter. So I think, and back to your question, it's we got to do things differently. And have we got the recipe? I don't know yet.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah. There's a question at the back. No. Okay.
Yeah, so I was just going to, because my expertise is, I guess, wage optimisation and staffing. I'll start with who wrote GRIA and the Fair Workers Act. My background, I mean, I studied at university in international business and I did commerce and law. I certainly feel like over the last 9 years of being at Michael Hill, I've done a PhD in staffing and the mix. But before, as I left university, I was at PwC, so I was quite grounded with good training. But yeah, now I'm thinking if I come to the next, you know, thought of my career, perhaps I'm going to be an advocate or a lobbyist to actually go and write what, you know, casual team members and flexibility and practicalities and part-timers and full-timers and speak on behalf of those as well, because they want the flexibility. We as retailers want the flexibility, yet our hands are tied. So of course we've had to change our model in terms of, you know, having a full-time, part-time, casual mix. And also making it an attractive a combination in pay rates, you know, in terms of the level of the business, whether you're a store manager on a salary or you're an hourly rate. In New Zealand and Canada, I mean, Australia is the only country, and I don't say this in a bad way, but we're so complicated with all of our payroll codes and whatsoever. We're the only country that pays penalty rates. Now, if you took that away, you would be no different to New Zealand or Canada, but we keep it there, and it's, I guess, sometimes archaic to think that why don't we just build it in and make our rates much more attractive, simplify the system. So to answer your question directly, I think maybe over the last 5 years, yes, I've spent a lot of time in optimising the mix and making recommendations to retail for that purpose. And also, I think as retailers, not deliberately, we've all been in a situation where we feel like we've breached, you know, been non-compliant for whatever reason, and it's not deliberate, but we're working on, you know, making sure that not only our customers are happy, but it's our staff. And we want to get that mix right.
Yeah,
we've also invested in the demand planning. We've actually integrated Kepler into our rostering system, and as of Monday, it'll be the first roster I see actually where it's all automated, so absolutely jacked up on Mountain Dew for our Christmas roster. It would take about an hour and a half in the new system. The one that was built when Pac-Man, it would take 3 days. Well, we launched a roster in a minute and a half, and just seeing the foot traffic overlaid with the sales, overlaid with the transaction, you talk about customer experience, that's been a wonderful journey with the Kepler family as well.
Yes, I can't wait to get that in.
Yeah, so I think probably we've just rolled out to retail what I'd call our optimisation tool. So where we're taking Kepler data and we're feeding it into a rostering system, but we're actually projecting future staffing requirements based on historical information. And so now we're presenting charts to retail, the store managers, to say, okay, now try and match your staffing to the projected staffing. And when I say optimisation, I was talking to Shane earlier, which is a really good point, because I'm a firm believer, I'm quite passionate about it. It's not about cutting people.
No.
Optimisation can be spending more to be more productive and earn more. And so it's how you sell that pitch to your people to get the buy-in to, you know, because complacent rostering is no longer, you know, the way I did it last year, I may as well do it again this year. My traffic sort of seems the same or whatever it is, that complacency will get you nowhere. We need to create opportunities and be smarter with our data.
And so there's a question right at the, oh, love it, Howard. And excellent.
So with all the changes that have happened over the last couple of years, how are you referring back? Obviously, you know, I guess pre-COVID, you would go back to last year, year on year, you know, comp stores, all of that. Where are you going back to find your benchmark from this year forward?
So twofold. There's the old school 2019, but that's still, you know, that's a thing. If you're talking forecasting, we're using exponential smoothing. We can't use the AI side, so we go back 13 weeks and then forecast forward. That works a treat for us. Yeah, do you want to answer any question?
I think exactly the same. I mean, we had an exceptional 2020 at the beginning. Yeah. So we used two halves, right? So we used 2019 second half and the first half of 2020. So, I mean, because we actually have grown through COVID too. We did 16 stores through that period. And, you know, like less than a 12-month period as well. So we saw a growth in our premium suburban channel that we'd never seen before. So you couldn't even comp it to anything prior. So I think really it was like everything's new, right? It's how you want to interpret the data, but really it's what you do now with the information and how no one really knew.
Yeah, to answer your question too, it's like definitely the 19 year was a benchmark, but you know, when I was creating these measures and the cubes that we're reporting on, it was last year, last year, last year, and then your acronyms for how many years ago type thing. So it's actually quite funny because the acronym comes bigger than the year itself. But in saying that, I just did an exercise as a data scientist. That
you got the best job.
Tasked to our team. We're just on sort of coming out of the pandemic, and it's not necessarily what we're benchmarking against. You know, historically, it's like what are we steering into this economic crisis, perhaps, and maybe let's have a look back at how we performed, you know, during or post or steering out of the global financial crisis. So I went back to 2007, 2008, 2009 data. Now that data exists in our systems, but not to the same extent or infrastructure that we currently use it. So trust me, it was quite a complex exercise. But it was an interesting exercise too, that, you know, it represented that Michael Hill actually did very well through, you know, that period. And we have done the same during this period. Our strategy then is very different to now. And so we need to, and how we steered out of that period perhaps was heavy discounting. We don't do heavy discounting anymore. So it's, you know, what levers or tools have we got now to use to steer through this next, you know, I say 12 months? And what are we benchmarking that from is probably a good exercise too.
I'm just mindful of time. The other thing I want to throw out from our experience with Kepler that probably doesn't get talked about enough, we've done a whole heap of customised reports in our business. So anyone who has a BI license, it's really expensive. And to try and translate that out into the store world, you know, at 65 stores, not realistic. We're able to work with Kepler to bring in our dollar reporting or standardising that for the stores with the same methodology of how it sets its targets, but then also incorporating our measures. So then the manager that doesn't just look at the sales conversion, that might be still old school, that wants to know, I'm doing $200 this next hour or whatever, they're able to actually pull it up in the Kepler environment, which is a really cool add-on that, you know, isn't always spoken about or known about. So.
Wow. I mean, we could almost have a whole day with this, yeah? It's like just having these three masterminds on the stage. So we have to wrap it up. Yeah. But of course, there's lunchtime as well if you've got other questions. Phoebe, MJ Bale, Matt, kidding, Ben, we love you. City Beach, and of course, Tennille, Michael Hill. Let's give them a really massive thank you so much.
You did it.
Thank you. You're just amazing.